Next time I go to Philly and go to a strip club and they say on stage, "Oh, it's special time." They got the music and all the girls coming out. I want that to be called the Philly Special. You go in the back to get a dance, it's the Philly Special. You're going to go and get a Philly cheesesteak? Nah, you're getting the Philly Special. You know what else? When I go to a massage parlor and, I get more than a massage, well, it's still a massage. I want it to be the Philly Special. What do you think about that?
I get it.
So, with that being said, did you watch the Super Bowl? Because you weren't here with the FATstats crew.
No, I watched it. I just watched it. I watched it with an Eagles fan. I did watch it. It was outside on his. He has a huge backyard. It's a deck that he built. Huge floatable screen, right, with the what's the projector? It was like HD projector. It was beautiful out. I watched the Super Bowl. I watched it with Eagles fans. The Patriots fans left at halftime, let it be known. And I watched it. I wish I would have watched it with you guys.
Whoa.
Hold on. How many nude women did you guys eat sushi off of at this rich guy's party?
No, so my wife was with me, so none.
It's art.
What I also want to know is,
This guy, he's not rich.
hey, why did the Patriots fans leave at halftime? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, but they were older,
Okay, that makes sense.
so they had to go to sleep.
I just thought it was like a typical Patriots thing. You just leave at halftime and they win.
Yeah, it's a Miami thing
Oh, that's what it is.
only.
All right, well.
Mike, what did you think of the Super Bowl?
Well, I thought it was a good game. It was all right. No, it was a good game. There was a lot of offense. It felt like a college game because it was just back and forth, like a college overtime game. You're at the 25-yard line, you just keep going back and forth. You're in like the 15th overtime. That doesn't really happen. But there was a lot of offense and there was a lot of scoring. It was a good game. It was entertaining. The biggest takeaway, in my opinion, was just no defense. I was shocked. There was like no defense at all. Philly's supposed to have a good defense. The Patriots, they have a decent defense. Honestly, should the Lions even take Matt Patricia now that he just showed that?
They did take him.
Should they still take him?
They did already. It's done.
Well, I think they should, null it and just say we're gonna go after somebody else.
Yeah, I don't see the big deal of the guy. I don't really think he's all that. But I'll say this. I agree with you. The game was fast, right? Before I knew it, the game was done. It flowed. It went so fast. Yes, there was only one punt in the entire game. The offense, it was an offensive game. When you look back at the tape, you can clearly see there's defense going on despite the amount of offensive yards. But it was just so fast, right? The game just flew by. And before we knew it, it was fourth quarter and 2 minutes left or a few minutes left, and you think Tom Brady's going to make this comeback, right? And then the Eagles defense stepped up and they made it happen when it mattered the most, right? They were pressuring Brady all game. If you look at the film, they pressured Brady. They might not have sacked him, but they were putting pressure on him, and he had a lot of bad throws. When you looked, it didn't look like he was ever in a state of where he was relaxed in the pocket, right? Like just the typical, Tom Brady looks confident in the pocket. It didn't look like that because they were backing up that O-line on him, and the game just flew by. And the Eagles defense, when it mattered most, that D-line stepped up and ended up causing a fumble on Brady, scored the field goal, went up by 8, and almost picked them off. They should have. But they ended what any chance the Patriots had or Tom Brady had of coming back, and they ended up winning.
Yep. So they brought their defense out. Their defense made the big plays of the game when it mattered most at the end. I feel like Tom Brady has this face, the face where he dropped the catch, that look up in the air like, oh fuck this, but like that face. I feel like that's his face for the entire game. Like that's just his game face,
He always has that face.
right? That's his game face.
The what face?
Like when he dropped the ball, he's like why did they call this play? I
Like
can't
a
catch.
pissed off high school teenage woman girl.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good example.
I mean, I didn't get to I didn't watch it 2 or 3 times like y'all did, and it was so fast. To me, it kind of felt like the Eagles were playing more of like a prevent defense. It was so weird how there were so many wide open receivers. They were just like containing kind of.
Yeah,
Instead of giving up gigantic plays, they just gave up like big chunks.
I don't know what it was.
It was really weird to
I don't know
watch.
if it was like the coverages they were doing. They were zoning it. Like I feel like they. I think it was more of a zone, and then they just kind of like. I know the one play where I think it was Amendola ran free deep, where Brady like almost I think it was avoided a sack and like extended the play and threw it deep to Amendola wide open. It was a great offensive scheme and a play that the defender went with. I think it was Hogan and left Amendola free. So I think they schemed it very well to get people free. But the Eagles defense was pressuring them and causing some bad passes.
Well, here's the thing. I think one of the main things also was they had Malcolm Jenkins shadowing the running back, right? Their safety, like their best second in the secondary, pretty much, was covering a running back.
Which is smart.
Have to with them.
It was, yeah. Oh, it was a great scheme. You would think maybe he would have covered Gronk, but Jalen Mills did a great job, and whoever else they had guarding him. But Jalen Mills, who has been getting burnt a lot this season, actually did a really good job in the first half, at least, of containing Gronk. Now, Gronk did his thing. He's going to do his thing. But if you look, their safety covered the running back. I mean, they just wanted to take away that running game, right? Because we know when on all else fails, you throw it to James White, you get Rex Burkhead going, Dion Lewis, and the game's it's a completely different game.
But what they did was they came out in the second half and they realized this. Hey, we got to get Gronk going. We can make this work. They're taking our game plan away, which is what they do best, is hitting the running backs. And they came out in the second half and started hitting Gronk. I believe he scored a touchdown on that drive. I don't remember. But yes, they finally figured out they needed to hit Gronk, and they kind of got away from it, I feel like. Or maybe the Eagles made a better adjustment. But they needed to hit Gronk, and they figured that out. They were able to take the lead. They weren't able to hold it, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, the Patriots did their thing. It's not like the Eagles did a whole lot stopping the Patriots until that final 6 minutes, final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. You look in the third quarter, the Patriots scored, I think, every drive that they had. Maybe 3 out of the 4 drives. I mean, they scored the first possession. I think it was Gronk. The second one, they scored, and they were moving down the field.
They had no punts.
Like it was literally who was going to make the first turnover, who was going to make the first mistake, because they were both going back and forth. Mm-hmm. It was a college football game. It really did feel like that.
It was really fun to watch.
It was the even though it was the Super Bowl, it was the most yards in NFL history in a single game. Like I would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I think I called for a 1,000-yard game in like the third quarter, and then when it hit, it was like, wait, did they just say that? Like,
right.
It was what, 1,018 yards when they announced it or something like that.
You're right. I thought the same thing when I heard that. I was like, no way. This game has been, and you tell me Tom Brady throws for 500 and how many yards? 505 yards, shattering his career all-time or his game, highest yards in a game, and they lose in 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions on FATstats wise. He had.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So we'll get into the FATstats grades. Now, he didn't have an amazing game as the box score says, but if you just tell me that he had this type of game, there's no way I'm saying they lose. I think it was all on the Eagles and their ability to not let off the gas.
You can even say a Foles, finished with 373, his 3 touchdowns, and you give Tom Brady's number 505 and 3 touchdowns. I'm gonna guess Tom Brady, especially being the Patriots and Tom Brady, that they won the game. I can't believe that the Eagles still won. Congrats to Philly.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I just think it was all about the Eagles' ability to continue the fast pace at which they were playing
And be aggressive.
I kept saying to the Eagles, the guy's house that I was at, the Eagles fan, I kept saying they have to start running it. They have a great running game. And they did have some explosive plays. Mm-hmm. But I was like, all right, now it's time to pound the ball. Time to pound it. Get Blunt in there. Ajayi, I don't know if Ajayi was hurt a little bit, but start pounding it. And every time I thought that, Nick Foles does a play action, boom, screen to Aguilar. Boom, over the middle in between a tight window to Aguilar or Jeffrey or Smith or whatever it was. They did not let off the gas.
And that's the key right there.
Man, yeah, Aguilar, he came up huge for a guy that people just gave up on because he wasn't, he didn't come out as great. He came out a great prospect out of college, and people kind of slept on him. And this year he did take a big step forward. He was a lot of the reason why a lot of broken plays that led to touchdowns for Wentz came because of Aguilar.
Yes, indeed. So, speaking of our quarterbacks, let's see. Nick Foles got a 90 FAT grade. 10 points less from his 100 that he got the game before that. Tom Brady himself got a 74.8. You're going to sit here and see that so Tom Brady, based on his NFL, stats, his box score for that game, why did he get a 74.8? That seems low. Nick Foles a 90? That seems high. Well, honestly, Nick Foles, I'm not going to say he did have a better game. Tom Brady just was a little bit more inaccurate and had a little bit more turnovers that should have been or could have been, especially in clutch time with the game on the line. He had that fumble, great defensive play by the Eagles, and he threw a terrible pass that should have been picked to Darby, both within about 4 minutes of the game. Those two right there was definitely a reason why his grade is not as high, and his accuracy wasn't on point as we're used to seeing from Tom Brady.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna get a lot of hate or a lot of pushback because when people look at grades like this, they think that we're just throwing a number out of nowhere, out of any, just saying Tom Brady got a 75, right? He's average. And we're using actions, we're using objective measures to measure the performance of the quarterback throughout the game, despite what the box score says. So I was a little surprised, but when you dig into the numbers, when you look at the game as a whole, and you're like, no way, I mean, Super Bowl, the guy if you look at his QB rating, he had a better QB rating than Nick Foles. And you look at the game and you're like, that's great. And then you look at the stats in which we graded on, and it's okay. It's understandable why he had a 75.
Well, you know that in the NFL box score, Nick Foles has an interception. So that interception where he threw it to Alshon Jeffrey, where Alshon Jeffrey had it one-handed, it would have been a tough catch, but it bobbled in the air and was intercepted. We don't see that as that being Nick Foles' fault. It was more so dropped by Alshon Jeffrey. That, in terms, plays into his passer rating.
Yeah, Mike, and I want to stop you right there because this podcast is brought to you by FATstats, not sponsored by Hydroxycut.
Because we are not trying to trim the fat. Gotcha. Yeah, so Alshon Jeffrey dropped the pass and ended up causing the interception, not on Nick Foles, which is why if you look at the box score and his passer rating, that in turn affects his passer rating because he has that interception on there. When in reality, it's not Nick Foles' fault.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, Nick Foles had the type of playoffs, right? He came in for Carson Wentz, got hurt. He came in and did what a backup is supposed to do, right? He continued. Now it's clearly not just now. Is it the fact that Nick Foles is a great quarterback, right? He didn't do well once he left, and that could be a Jeff Fisher problem. But is Nick Foles as good as, is he really this good, or is it the system in which he plays in?
I think Nick Foles is worth a shot starting for another team. Not the Eagles, because I think they should stick with Carson Wentz. But Nick Foles should start for another team, especially based on his performance. I mean, you look back 4 or 5 years ago, he had a 27 touchdown, 2 interception year. I mean, he can play in this league. I think it was more of the team around him, the scheme, the coaches, a.k.a. Jeff Fisher, why he didn't succeed outside of Philly. I think now, especially with this experience that he has, this confidence that he has now, if he goes somewhere else, he can be successful. I mean, maybe not the Browns. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I really think Arizona.
Yeah, that'd be, honestly, I feel like that'd be a great place for him.
Yeah, because I think Denver is going to get Kirk. And then I think that leaves Arizona, because I think Kirk stated he doesn't want to play for the Browns. I think he stated that. But I see Nick Foles maybe going to Arizona, or the other option I can see is him staying as a backup. You know, they'd have to trade him.
I mean, it would depend on the pay, I would think.
Well, it's the trade.
He's on a
so
contract.
They'd have to trade him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's on a contract.
Right.
But it'd have to be a great trade, and I'm sure the Eagles will do it in a heartbeat because you have a franchise quarterback.
He would need an extension for sure.
I really would like to see him in Arizona, though.
You know what?
Larry?
They have such a nice team that
Larry Fitz says, real quick, Mike, Larry Fitzgerald says, depending on the quarterback, he didn't say this, all right, but he's making his decision on retirement, and it's most likely based on the quarterback that they bring in. If they bring in a rookie, he's probably not going to be too happy about that.
You know, the Jaguars, though, they should call up Philly and see what it costs to get Nick Foles, and then let Blake Bortles and Nick Foles battle it out. I feel like the Jags need to move on from Blake Bortles, and if they can get Nick Foles for cheap, or, I mean, he's not going to be cheap because he just won a Super Bowl and MVP, but if the price is right, I would go after Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Just another team.
No, that's interesting. I forgot about the Jags.
But Arizona, I feel like, is a great destination for him.
True.
I agree.
I'm surprised Michael brought up the Jags.
Yeah, I don't like the Jags. But, oh well, it is what it is.
You got to be unbiased, man. Sometimes, you know?
I am. I do want them to stick with Blake Bortles because I feel like, even though he had a decent year.
Because the Eagles have a lot of talent. I felt like that was half of it. It was half talent. And, I mean, but looking at some of those passes he was making,
he was on point.
Oh, my God.
No, he was. But a lot of it was...
were incredible. He looked, on some throws, like some of those were so accurate, it looked like Aaron Rodgers threw some of those balls.
Well, they do a lot of RPOs, right? The run pass options. So really what it is every time you get the ball, you're handing it off or you're not handing it off, and then you quickly letting it go. Now, he was accurate. But to coach that defense, but that coaching staff, that O-line, and they did it, so they did it without the best O-lineman, Peters. Mm-hmm. He was injured. Their left tackle, injured, and they freaking, it's just crazy to think about the injuries that they had, and then they were able to win. But yes, Nick Foles stepped up and did what he had to do, but I think a lot of it has to do with...
You lose a great tackle like that, you lose your franchise quarterback, and you still win? It's insane. It's definitely, the talent they have on that team, the coaching staff, everything involved. What a great way for Philly to win. But speaking of RPOs, if you watched the Super Bowl and you played a drinking game where you took a shot every time you heard RPO, you would not make it past halftime. They probably said it like 20 times.
Did they? Because I didn't hear the game. The projector was the one that was. The projector had a. So listen. Hold on. No, listen. He just set this thing up. The projector didn't have a speaker in it. Okay.
So you listened in silence,
did have a speaker.
You watched in
It
silence?
had a speaker on it, but it only went up to volume 10, and it wasn't super loud. I really didn't hear the word RP. Maybe I did hear it, and it just went past me because I just,
Yeah, you'd
I was
be drunk.
zoning on the game.
You'd be like the fans in Philly after the game, just falling over, or like just climbing poles and
No, I wasn't that excited.
jumping on cars and burning things. Typical Philly fans. They were gonna burn the city down either way.
I thought it was cool that the drinking game where you take a shot every time you hear Chris Collinsworth say, "Now here's a guy."
Yeah, you won't make it past the first.
You wouldn't.
I was
No,
listening for that.
Speaking of Chris Collinsworth, all right. So
Oh.
I want your thoughts on that Zach Ertz catch. Did you think he was completely?
The one where he crossed the plane.
Oh, I remember. I know.
He was
Yeah.
he was completely sure that is not a catch. I can't believe it's a catch. That can't be a catch.
I don't think he was that dramatic about it.
Oh,
I did hear
See,
that.
you didn't hear the game,
No,
so I
I
don't know
did
what
hear it.
you don't have a leg to stand on.
I do. So I did hear the game. I didn't hear RPOs thrown around that much. I did hear the game, and especially that portion because they replayed it over
Mm-hmm.
and over. The only thing I have to say is the Jesse James one, a little tiny bit different,
Yes.
but same.
Okay, so watching that
Same.
watching that Zach Ertz catch though, did you feel based off the 30 replays they showed that should not have been a touchdown? Or do you feel like they made the right decision?
It should be a touchdown. It was a touchdown.
It was. No, I know it was.
Do you think the 30 replays was like justified?
I think it was close. I honestly thought, and maybe because I'm maybe not biased.
What if it
Maybe
was just
because
over the pylon? Would your mind would have changed your
if he
mind?
didn't fumble it,
That seems to be the thing. If it's over the pylon and it comes out when it.
This man made 3 steps after catching the ball, dove the ball, complete control, dove over the goal line, and then the ball bounced out once he hit the ground. He was a runner, 100% a runner after that fact. I don't understand why
They
there was
marked
such
it right.
debate. They did. But I was just appalled by Chris
Here's
Collinsworth.
Being a wide receiver.
PFF. Oh, Chris Collinsworth
Yeah.
doesn't even know what a catch is.
but
Then again, the NFL doesn't.
But
apparently.
that's what I was about to get to is I think the NFL has scarred me a little bit with when I looking at something, I always try and think about now, okay, how is that going to get called? And it throws me off. And like when I saw that, I'm like, oh crap, that's not a catch. And just because I'm thinking about how these NFL, I am super surprised. You know what I think? This is just a hunch. Did
What do
you
you think,
watch
Bob?
So the 2 Bills 30 for 30?
I did not see
The
it.
2 Bills 30 for 30 is Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, and they talk about their run together on the Giants, then the Jets. And so them two talking about it though, they said a lot of what was interesting about it, and this is my theory, okay? And then the Patriots. I didn't add that to there. Giants, Jets, Patriots. Giants, Patriots, Jets. They were together in the Parcells and Belichick.
Right.
Well, Parcells was the head coach. So my thing is, Parcells did not leave on good terms with the Patriots, a la Kraft, right? They didn't end great. Okay. What was interesting about it is there was the whole debate about the NFL. The NFL, Bob Kraft called out the NFL, saying that there was basically they were a little dirty in the back office, making things happen between like the coaching staff or some coach. You have to watch it, okay, to be sure. But I think when they aired the 2 Bills and that came to light, just my thinking, I was like, man, these refs aren't really giving the Patriots all that they used to give them. And I'm wondering if Goodell's like, Bob Kraft called this out. No more, my friend. I'm just saying, maybe he never heard that from Bob Kraft's lips before, and he saw the two. Maybe he was sitting at home, he watched the 30 for 30, and he was like, "Oh, shit,
Was it that bad?
that's what you're gonna say about me?" He called the refs. Zach Ertz touchdown.
No more. But that was a touchdown. See,
It was.
No, I'm not saying it's not a touchdown. I'm saying what the refs are gonna say.
But you see what he just did there. Though.
I did.
No, listen to me. I'm saying what the refs are gonna say.
No, I see what you're saying, but I see what you're saying
okay,
too.
Go ahead.
No,
I think it's a touchdown.
you do think it's a touchdown,
I'm
but you're
thinking
saying that
about
the
what the
refs are
refs-
making that
Yes.
a touchdown
Okay,
based
so
off that
That's
film.
what I was saying last night. Do you remember last night I was saying that the NFL and the announcers and the refs, they have begun to brainwash everybody to question what a catch is ever since that whole Dez fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
Where now it's a plain touchdown and they review it so many times that everybody's like, maybe it's not a touchdown.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand
They need to get this fixed.
how some of these catches are so in question.
Yeah, I agree.
It's mine's just a theory because I think in the end of the day, this is all run by humans, right? And humans make emotional based decisions sometimes. And I think Roger Goodell's pissed off and he called the referees. Maybe the referees were a little pissed off when they saw the two bills and it just planted a seed in their mind. And they're like, you know what? We're not going to give as many calls because there was barely any penalties that game. We're not going to give as many calls to the Patriots. Listen, I know you guys don't want to hear that, but
They
that's what I think.
they had one offensive penalty, I think, at least in the first half, and it was because Gronk completely when false started,
Oh yeah.
a blatant false start. So they had to call it, but they didn't have many penalties called. Also, I don't remember exactly when this was, but I feel like towards the end of the game, Tom Brady did his little fist pump again, and the play clock went from like 18 to 25.
Oh yeah, no.
So-
You called that out.
I saw Questlove tweet about that. I really didn't see it.
Yes,
Noticed
it
that.
happened.
No, it did. It went from like 20 to 25.
So
It
the
got
refs
called
are
out in
still
this
there.
living room, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did notice it.
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna-
just
you know-
saying, watch the two
What's
bills
he rolling his eyes for?
because
He's defending the refs
Since
No,
when did
I'm
you
not
become
defending
a
the refs.
referee Tom Brady defender?
I am saying the refs did the right thing this game.
by
and
bumping
not-
up the play clock.
No, in just calling the game as was.
I agree.
Oh no, for sure. It looked better. Than
It did look better. There was another iffy call where the Eagles had a holding penalty. It was iffy,
Actually,
but it wasn't that bad. It was kind of clean in my opinion.
speaking of that, the very last play of the game, when the Eagles just completely took out Chris Hogan mid route, just straight up took him off his feet and nothing got thrown.
Well,
That surprised me.
I didn't see that live. I don't recall seeing that, but I saw the picture.
Because that was their game plan, really, is just to let
he
him
was-
go up and get the ball, but he was on the ground when the ball was in the air.
He was supposed to be the one to catch the tip,
Right.
and he was knocked down before the ball even got there.
So your theory might be right then.
Now, do you think Giselle was pissed off at any of the wide receivers?
You mean Tom?
No, never.
I mean, he dropped a pass.
She was
I
pissed
would've
off at
ripped
Wes
on him for
Welker.
I could have thrown that to my 12-year-old sister and she would have caught that.
But listen, you know how Giselle is. You know how Giselle is. She was pissed off at Wes Welker. I think she still doesn't talk to him. Do you think Chris Hogan is on her shit list? Do you think Gronk is on her shit list?
No, I think the defense
That
is
might
on
be
their
why
shit
Gronk
list.
wants to retire.
I
Might
definitely
retire.
think the Patriots ex defensive coordinator, what's his name?
Patricia.
Saskatchewan.
Oh,
I think him.
Wait, what?
It's Patricia. I think
So you're
I
doing
think
that.
he's on Giselle's shit list.
you know what? Maybe the coaching staff for not playing Malcolm Butler.
Yeah,
But
I don't know why.
the whole defense.
Did you see the interview after?
He supposedly denied all the. I got that update today.
Did you see the interview though? They kept probing him. Why wouldn't you play? Why wouldn't you play your best players? And he's like, well, you know, we did what we thought would work best against this team, and we did, you know, what we thought would work. And they asked him the same. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you sit your best corner. Blah blah blah. Why aren't you playing him? We did what we thought was best for. And he was just like robotic, like saying just every question, which is fine. That's probably what I would do too, because they're just. But they were Boston reporters. You could tell because they were pissed that they didn't play Malcolm Butler, and they were trying to find the answer. It was interesting.
Well, he must have broke some kind of rules, because I don't think it's a scheme thing. I don't think it's a player personnel fit.
I don't think so either.
I think he did something wrong.
Or Bill's looking for a way out and also tarnishing Brady's legacy because, that whole cult thing or whatever.
Who knows with the Patriots? I feel like the Patriots is just like,
Oh, man.
That's
it's possible.
super hot take.
I feel like the Patriots is just like that organization that like
Kisses their kids on the mouth for 12 seconds.
they kiss their kids on the mouth for 12 seconds, say it's a little pecker, I need more. And there's just like so much going on in there that you don't hear
Mike,
about.
it's not pecker.
Oh, it's peck.
We talked about
Oh,
this.
you're right. That was a little peck. Give me more. Not pecker.
Such a big difference.
Anyway, so what do we have for the future in the next coming months or so with FATstats?
All right, so in the offseason, we have a few things we're doing. For one, we are going to grade the 2015 season, right? The more data, the better. We've graded 2016. We now graded 2017. We will go back and grade 2015. The other thing is we are making some adjustments to our scoring system. Based off this last season, we saw some opportunities to create a better evaluation tool given actions that we weren't accounting for, right? So depth of throw, for instance. So we're going to look at air yards and look at the depth of throw, and we're going to build that into the scoring system because it matters. That is one of the things. The other thing we're doing. I think the biggest thing, the most exciting thing that we're going to work on, especially Mike and I will be working on, is the fantasy.
Everybody loves fantasy for football.
So how does FATstats and what we do, how we analyze the game, what we're doing as a whole, how can we fit this into the fantasy realm, the fantasy football realm? That's what we are going to be, and we know how we're going to fit it in. What it is how can we get this to you all? How can we get the information that we're gathering from watching and analyzing every single play? How can we get it into your hands to help you draft, first of all, and then play the right players on a weekly basis based on our data? Mike?
It's kind of top secret, but when we get it out there,
Good call.
you will know.
Yeah, it's not that top secret. It's just, but we will get it out there. We're going to provide a draft kit for next year. Obviously, it's going to have to wait till after the rookies, after the draft happens, which, speaking of the draft, Mike, and I know you have something on the tip of your tongue. You look like you're about to speak. Alec and Keith are going to be analyzing the draft, the upcoming draft, and the players coming out. And we will also be doing that in the offseason. Go ahead.
Draft is definitely an important part of the offseason, which we will get into. But who does not want to win their fantasy football league? So if you really want to win, if you want to win that $1,000 for your $100 buy-in, make sure you check out FATstats Draft Guide because we will make you win. Just like that. Boom.
Wow.
No guarantees. Guarantees.
Well,
But no $1,000.
there's
guarantees, 'cause that math was
there's
off.
subtle guarantees.
Well, that math was off.
So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Medium for any readers out there. I know that breed is dying, but FAT_team_stats on Twitter and Instagram. Please find us. FAT Team Stats on Facebook. FATteamstats.com for a website that is not completely developed, but you can poke your head in there. And I know it's going to be interesting when we start to build this out, especially when we get our draft kit up there. We do have a website, though, so you can, poke your head in there. Did I miss any handles?
No.
Facebook, yeah. Facebook, Twitter,
Team
Instagram,
Stats.
Medium.
The fellas.
The fellas,
Good,
No.
fellas?
good fellas. I also want to say this podcast will be on SoundCloud and YouTube. We also have another podcast sponsored by FATstats called Go Fick Yourself that we just released the second episode. That's on SoundCloud, where Keith Rabinowitz, he's our Keith Fick Rabinowitz. He is a FATstat greater, as well as the host of the Go Fix Yourself. So we're coming at you from every angle.
Bada bing, bada boom, from the left, the right, the back, and the front, and above you, and behind you, and below you. Every angle. Yeah.
Yeah, every angle. Mike, do you want to say anything else?
Southwest.
FATstats.
Philly special.